Here we are back again. We've got our bouncing ball, but it's not maintaining its volume. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick how to do this. Now this idea may scare some people because we're actually going to do some very basic scripting. So I'm going to go into Windows and then Animation Editors, and then we're going to come down to the Expression Editor here. Now that'll bring up this nice little window, and I'm just going to drag it over to the side. I like working with View by Expression Name so that when you click on anything out of the scene, it'll actually, if you have it on the default, it'll actually change stuff, and it kind of puts me off. So I like to keep it with the expression name. So what we want to do is we want to be affecting the scale X and the scale Z. So what we're going to type in is we want to affect the ball. Dot and then scale X. This shows that we're talking about this attribute here. And then we're going to say that equals ball dot scale Z, which is this other one that we want to work with. Now they're going to be keeping the same values, so we're just going to do this all in the one scripting line. So we'll go, they both equal 2 minus ball dot scale Y. And you put a little semicolon at the end. It's not so necessary in this one, but once you start having multiple lines, it's a good habit to get into. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create. You get this error down the bottom that says you can't create that because there's already connections for the Z and the X values. So what we have to do is make sure that we get rid of these keys because that's not letting us set up this connection. So we're going to come down, I'm just right-clicking and come down to Break Connections, and that will just clear out all the keyframes there. And so now I can come back to my expression editor and click Create. And you'll see that they're now a lovely mauve purple color, which means that they're being driven by this expression. And that now means that whenever the scale Y changes, the scale Z and the scale X will change. So that means that this is all maintaining volume all by itself. So I don't have to worry about it. I can go ahead and actually click this key here. I'm going to hit W to bring back my transform tool, shift and drag, and you'll see that as I'm pulling it down, it's actually getting fatter, which is what happens to a ball when you actually squash it. So this is great. This is a great little way to increase your working capacity, make everything faster and smoother. So we're going to just keep that off to the side and play that through. And that's looking much nicer now. The ball is maintaining volume, we've got some squash and stretch. And so this is getting to where we want to be. By all means, you can click off the ball and you've got a nice little animation there. What we might want to do though is keep the ball rolling for a couple of frames after it's actually finished bouncing. So the easiest way to do that is go to our translate X that we were working in. We don't really see it at the moment, so if you hit F, you'll frame it up. So, and we can grab that key, and if we only want to affect this key instead of all the keys on the ball at that frame, we can just highlight that, hold down the Shift key, middle mouse, and drag, and that will move it across to the right. And now we want to be going to frame 72 because that's the last that we have in our time slider, and you'll see that that's the new keyframe there. Now what that's done is if I unselect the ball, rewind and play, the ball just has a little bit of a taper off after it's finished bouncing, and it gives a nice little end to the animation. I mean, this is great. This can be a finished animation as it is, but I'm going to show you a little bit extra because at the moment it's not really animating in Maya as you would animate a lot of other things. Mostly when you're animating, you'll be using controls to set things up, and Also, one of the other odd things about this ball is if I just stop and select it, and while it's selected, you can tell that it isn't actually rolling. And now that's one of the things that we can't really do at the moment, because if I hit the E key, bring up the rotation, and then try and rotate, you'll notice that the ball rotates in the wrong place. And I mean, this was because we moved the pivot to the bottom, which I know, my fault, I told you to do that. But in the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to fix that and how to get far more functionality out of the ball by setting up a simple rig.